This Australian woman was the first in the country's history to be sentenced to life in prison without parole. And I mean never being considered for parole. And when you hear what this woman did to her partner, you will understand why. And her complete psychotic episodes will lead you down the path to why this woman was going to end up doing what she was doing. Now, this is the story of Katherine Knight, and just a warning, this might upset some viewers, so viewer discretion is advised. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in the videos. Now, I love scary facts, I love conspiracies, aliens, UFOs, paranormal, true crime, and I love drawing. So what better to then combine the two and bring you a hopefully unique experience in these genres. Now, nothing is meant to be insensitive to the victims or the victims' families, but if you are a sensitive person, I recommend just not watching anything, because I don't think anything's offensive on my channel, but someone out there might find something completely, shocking to them. Especially with the art that I do draw, because I do try to portray the story in the art or take some sort of inspiration from the story and put it into my art. And I like drawing disturbing things, so that's why I do what I do. As you can see, I finally got a green screen, and if you like any of the drawings that I do in these videos, I will have prints up on my Redbubble store. My Redbubble store is in the description down below. I'm trying to get my shit together and actually start uploading a lot of the illustrations that I have done. I'm very slack because I do work and I've got to do this as well, and I'm sort of very I'm very unorganized. I'm a very unorganized person. I've neglected a lot of things. I neglect a lot of my social media, so I've got to try and get my prints and my pictures up on Redbubble. So if you do go there and there's a lot missing that you have seen in the last quite a few months, that's because I just haven't gotten around to putting them up there yet, and I'm trying to. I'm hoping in the new year I'm going to sort my shit and I'm going to get them up there. But keep checking, because you just never know. I might pull my finger out in the next month or so. And I'm even trying to get my website up and running. I'm working on that at the moment, and I'm just trying to juggle a lot of crap at the moment. Also, in this video today, I'm going to be testing my new fine line drawing pens from Ohuhu, which is a brand who does alcohol markers. I don't have any Ohuhu alcohol markers, but I decided to give these a go because these were on special, on a Black Friday special here in Australia on Amazon. So I decided to try them. So that's what I'm going to be using today in the illustration. It is hard to stray from my pigment microns because I really like them, but I'll give these a crack. With that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing. Katherine Knight is not someone you would want to meet at all, let alone in a dark alley. She was born with her twin on the 24th of October 1955 in Tenterfield, New South Wales, to an affair her mother, Barbara Ruffin, had with her husband's co-worker, Ken Knight. This rocked the tight-knit community as everyone knew everyone in the rural town. They were all forced to move to Moree after the affair, where Barbara's grandmother lived, and even more so when Barbara's ex-husband and father of her kids, Jack Ruffin, died in 1959. He had custody of their two oldest kids, and now they had to go live with Barbara and Ken. Then they all moved to Aberdeen in 1969. Katherine's early life was pretty bad. Her father, Ken, was an abusive alcoholic that raped their mother, Barbara, several times a day and used intimidation and violence to get his own way. Katherine was also sexually abused by family members up until she was 11 years old.
Katherine seemed to be a nice girl, but would get into murderous rages with just the smallest inconvenience that would happen. In school, she was labelled a bully that would intimidate smaller children, and she even attacked a boy with a weapon. When she wasn't flying off the handle and trying to attack people, she was a model student with good behaviour. She left school at 15, and she couldn't read or write, but she got a job working in a clothing factory. Then a year later, she got her so-called dream job working in an abattoir, where it wasn't long until she got promoted to a boner and got her own set of butcher's knives. She would take those knives home and hang them above her bed on the wall, which she continued to do in every home she lived in up until she was jailed. She married David Callous in 1974, with both of them turning up to their wedding on a motorbike completely drunk. Barbara's mother warned David not to play up on her and to watch her, because if he did play up on her, Katherine would kill him, and proceeded to tell David that her own daughter had some screws loose. The night of their wedding, Katherine and David had sex 3 times, but Katherine wanted to go a 4th time, but David fell asleep, so she tried to strangle him to death. This set the precedent for their marriage. She hit David over the head one night with a fry pan and fractured his skull just because he came home late from a darts final. Katherine was also heavily pregnant with their first child as well. He was able to scramble to his neighbour's house, where he collapsed, and the neighbour called the police. Katherine wasn't charged, as she convinced David to drop the charges. In May 1976, after she gave birth to their daughter Melissa, David left Katherine for another woman and moved to Queensland. Katherine got postnatal depression and was violently pushing the pram with her newborn in it down the street. So she was admitted into St Elmo's Hospital in Tamworth, New South Wales. She was released and then put her 2-month-old Melissa on railway tracks to kill her, and then just left her there and went to town with an axe and threatened to kill people. Melissa was rescued by a man that foraged near the railway lines every day called Old Ted just before the train came. Katherine was arrested and taken to St Elmo's Hospital again, but she released herself the next day. A few days later, she slashed a woman across her face and made her drive her to Queensland to kill David and his mother, but the woman pulled over at a servo and escaped. The police were called, and Katherine had taken a boy hostage with a weapon, so police disarmed her with brooms, and she was arrested and taken to Morisset Psychiatric Hospital. David was informed of her plans to kill him and his mother, so they both moved back to Aberdeen to support Katherine. She was released on the 9th of August 1976 into the care of her mother-in-law and David, where they all moved to Brisbane, Queensland. She got another abattoir job in Ipswich, and things seemed to be going okay. In March 1980, she had another daughter, Natasha, but in 1984, Katherine left David and moved back in with her parents in Aberdeen, then got her own rental home and started back at the abattoir again, but she hurt her back and ended up on a disability pension. In 1986, Katherine met 38-year-old David Saunders, so another David, and he moved in with Katherine and her 2 daughters a few months later, but David kept his apartment, which he ended up at a lot because Katherine would kick him out due to not knowing what he was doing when she wasn't around, but she always ended up going to his apartment and begging him to come back each time. In 1987, she slit the throat of David's dingo puppy in front of him as a lesson to never cheat on her, and then proceeded to knock him out with a fry pan. In 1988, she gave birth to her 3rd child, Sarah. One night, they had an argument, and Katherine stabbed David with a pair of scissors in the stomach and then punched him in the face. He moved out then and went straight into hiding, so she couldn't find him. He tried to see his daughter a few months later, but found that Katherine had taken an AVO out on David and told police that she was scared of him. In 1990, Katherine got pregnant to 43-year-old former co-worker of the abattoir she used to work for, named John Chillingworth, and she gave birth in 1991 to a son named Eric. The relationship lasted 3 years before she left him for another man named John Price. John was a father of 3 children when Katherine had an affair with him. John's youngest kid, 2 years old at the time, lived with his ex-wife, but the older 2 kids lived with John. In 1995, Katherine moved in with John, even though he knew very well what she was like. His kids liked her surprisingly, and apart from some violent outbursts towards John, their relationship wasn't too bad, and John was making a mint at the local mines. In 1998, Katherine started a pretty big fight with him over his refusal to marry her, so she rounded up evidence with a video recorder of what John stole from his work and dobbed him in to his employer. They were apparently out-of-date medical kits, but John was fired anyway from his job that he had been at for 17 years. John kicked her out the same day. A few months later, John and Katherine got back together, but he refused to let her move in with him again, so the violent outbursts intensified to the point where John's friends wouldn't have anything to do with him while they were together, and everyone loved John. John was known as such a top bloke, and while he was tangled up with Katherine, no one wanted anything to do with him. In February 2000, Katherine assaulted John several times, one being a knife to the chest, so he went down to the courthouse and got a restraining order against her as he couldn't take it anymore. John also told his co-workers that if he didn't come into work tomorrow, she had killed him. And unfortunately, this would go on to be true. That evening, the then 44-year-old John went home even though his friends were worried and didn't want him to go home, and he spent the evening with his neighbour and then went back home and to bed about 11 p.m. Katherine had sent his kids to a sleepover that night, so when she turned up, she entered John's home, watched TV for a while, had a shower, and then woke John up and they had sex. Then, the next day, John did not turn up for work, so his boss sent one of his co-workers to John's place. When he arrived, he was greeted by the neighbour who was also concerned, and they both tried to get into the home. They both knocked and nothing. Then they noticed blood on the door, so they rang the police, which turned up about 8 a.m. They broke down the door and they found Katherine lying on the floor, drugged out of her brain after consuming quite a few pills, beside John's dead body. She had stabbed him 37 times, and at some point he tried to escape, hence the blood on the front door, but he was probably dragged back inside. John suffered fatal wounds to his vital organs. Then after John bled out in the hallway, the crazy bitch skinned him with her butcher's knives and hung his skin up on a meat hook from the architraves in the lounge room. She then decapitated him and cooked his head in a pot on the stove with veggies, along with other body parts with baked potatoes, pumpkin, zucchini, cabbage and gravy, and then set the table for his 2 children when they came home. She was going to serve their own father to them. She also tried to eat her meal, but it was found out in the backyard on the lawn. The police found an illiterate note accusing John of raping Katherine's daughter and his own kids, which was not true. Once Katherine came to, she told police that she had no recollection of the night before, which as far as I'm concerned is a load of shit. On the 8th of November 2001, Katherine's hearing was wrapping up with all the evidence, victims and family testifying, and Katherine was sentenced to life in prison with a note on her documents to never be released and to have no parole. This was the first time that a sentence like this had ever been handed down to a woman in Australia. In June 2006, she appealed her sentence, but it was immediately thrown out as the justices would never grant her this after what she had done. It was found that Katherine had planned John's killing very meticulously, even making sure that she had pots for his head to fit in and planted the butcher's knife in the bedroom. She knew exactly what she was going to do and she loved every minute of it. She even skinned him perfectly, like a skin suit was hanging from the lounge room architraves. It was very skillful, and the way that she mutilated the body had her go down in history as the cruelest criminal in Australian history. She never took responsibility for what she did and showed no remorse. She is serving her life sentence in the Silverwater Women's Correctional Centre, and right now, as of 2024, she is 68 years old. So let me know what you thought about this case, and if there was any other details that you've heard of in regards to this, let me know in the comments down below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this crazy bitch and the terrible shit that she did to this poor bloke. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this video today was basically just recreating in a very monstrous way what she had basically done. So I did this like thing hanging from the meat hook with like this is like this bodysuit that's been cut out. Mind you, I couldn't find any references on skin suits, so this I had to just completely wing. So yeah, this was hopefully executed finely. I don't know. Yeah, this came out of my own head. Then there's pots at the bottom with organs in it and limbs and the head, and then yeah, my portrayal of the monster that Katherine was. This is, to me, represents her insides perfectly, because she was just a completely horrible, hideous human being to do this to people and to treat people like this. So that is it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video today. Hopefully you watch whatever is left of this video. Like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.